Right, in today's lesson for this week we're going to look at what we did in lesson 4. We're going to do some more counting and strumming, another scale, and some more of our chord changes. And it's very much the same as that lesson 4. We're trying to bring your technical level and your ability up. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to learn a little bit more about all those various aspects. Let's get straight to the lesson. Even more counting and strumming. Right, so we've learnt a little bit about counting and strumming. We've learnt the basics. We're going to learn a little bit more on top of that now. What we're going to learn is kind of the most we're going to learn for a while. It has enough sort of material that we can play a lot of songs and we can do a lot of things on the guitar. So for more counting and strumming, we're going to first take a look at the counting and strumming we've done. And what we have done is we've done 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we're going to go 2 steps further. These two I'm going to isolate and I'm going to show you one by one. And then I'm going to show you how to put them all together so you'll be able to play all of them. In total there will be 6. You'll be learning 6 sort of strumming patterns and counting and timing. Alright, so let's have a look at the screen, and what we've got is we've got the same as what we usually do. We've got 1, 2, 3 and 4, and they're all down strums. And then in between those down strums we've got another down and up arrow. And those are going to be and up. So it's going to be sort of spelled like this: 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. Alright, so now what we've got to do is we've got to be able to play that on the guitar. So we don't need to hold any chords, don't need to do anything. You can either play with open strings or you can just sort of gently mute your strings for this. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is the 1, 2, 3, 4. Now in between that we've got to do an and-a, and it's going to be a down, up, and up, and up. Like with our counting we go and 1, and 2, and 3. This is going to be a little bit more in that sentence. It's going to be and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. And up. So let's go through that very slowly together, and then we'll practice holding a chord and seeing if we can do it. So it's going to go 1 and up, down, down, up, and the up is with our thumb. Down, up, so your fingers and your wrists are just rocking like that. And up, and up. So let's try that. 1 and up. Down, down, up. You can try and strum along with me. Down, down, up. Down, down, up. And that's isolated on its own. What we're doing is we're going and 2 and 3 and 4 and up. So it's going to go 1 and 2. So you're going down, up, down. Down, up, down. Down, up, down. Straight away, straight to that next count, because those little in-between counts are leading into your next count. So it's going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and So let's play that together very slowly. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and let's do it again. 1 and Right, so what you need to do is you need to stop the video and you need to practice that on its own. Bear in mind that you're going and a 1 and a 2 and a 3. If you think about it this way, it makes a lot more sense and it gets that sort of natural rhythm and flow in your right hand a lot more accurate. Because what you're doing is you're doing something for a purpose. You're going and a 1 and a 2. You're not just sort of playing a random strumming pattern. You've got to make sure all those counts are exact, like the clock. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're just doing a little bit in between to get to those counts. Alright, so once you've stopped the video and you've practiced, then you can sort of carry on and you can follow with me again. Also, just isolate and practice. Down, up, down. Down, up, down. Down, up, down. And you can put a little bit of emphasis on those first counts. So you're going 1 and 2 and 3. So that's making sure we stay on the beat for now. Alright, so once you've practiced that on your own, you can rejoin at this point. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hold an E minor, just like that. Alright, so now we're going to try that strumming pattern on its own very slowly. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So that's the point that you want to get to. You want to be able to play that. So again, stop the video and practice, 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 practice. We will be playing songs further in the term and in the next term which incorporate these. And we're also going to be looking at using the ander as a chord change in a little bit. And the reason why we're doing that is because in a lot of popular songs, they do use the ander as a chord change, which we'll be getting onto further in the lesson. Alright, so once we've done that, we need to move on to the last exercise. And on our screen, it looks like this. We've got 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and Right, it's not so scary. We've done most of that already. We've done the 1 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we've just done the ander. Now there's a little note before the ander, an E. So 1 E, ander. So ander 1, ander 2, ander 3, ander 4, ander 1 E, ander 2 E, ander 3 E, ander 4 E, ander. These are 16ths. We don't often play with that with our strumming. We do a lot of that sort of in our scales and sort of leady bits. But we're going to have a look at that in our strumming because it is used and it's great for bringing up your technical ability. So you'll notice it is a down, up, for 4 counts within 1 count. So they're 16ths. They're broken down 1 count into 4 notes. So we need to go 1 E and up, down, up, down, up. And that needs to fit in the space of our counts. So 1 second on the clock is 1 E and So it will feel fairly fast for now, but with time and practice it gets a lot easier. This you'll get a natural flow for a lot quicker and faster than some of the other ones. So let's look at that very slowly. It's going to go down, up, down, up. What you can do now is you can practice doing that and practice speeding it up. So you can go. And you just practice doing that. You can stop the video and you can practice just going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. The faster you go and the faster you can get that, then the easier this exercise is going to seem. So now let's look at it broken down slowly. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 Alright, so down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. All you're doing is in your head or aloud, you're counting along with the E anders. So let's hold the E minor chord now and tackle that. We've got our E minor, and we're going to go 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Again, using emphasis on that first note. So let's do that 4 times in a row, and then you can stop the video and practice on your own. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E. And that's it. That is your last counting and timing that we're going to be looking at this term. So again, stop the video, practice that slowly on your own, and then once you've practiced those 2 exercises, you can rejoin the video where we're going to go through all of them. Very slowly, I'm going to go through each one of the exercises, one after another, and then we'll look at putting them all together slowly. Alright, so you can follow along, or you can just watch what I'm doing and get the idea of all 6 one after another. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. 1 E and a 2 and a 3 E and a 4 E. Alright, so you'll notice how they all fit together. You've got your 4 counts that don't ever change. If you had someone else playing the guitar just on the 1 counts, or the drummer even just tapping away at the 1 counts, you'll notice that your ones and the other instrument's ones are always together at the same times, like that clock. So all the other little bits and pieces we're fitting in between those counts. Alright, so what we need to be able to do now is we need to be able to play all 6 of those in a row. So again, it's time to stop the video and make sure you've practiced each one of them until you can play them along sort of with a clock. So do that, they're in your notes, and you can just have a look at each one of them all put together, and you practice those, and then you're going to rejoin me, and we're going to very slowly play that together a number of times. Alright, and we're going to use E minor, and we're not going to change chord or anything like that, we're just going to slowly go through those counts. Alright, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, Alright, and that is where you need to get with your counting and strumming. You've got some further in the lesson 4, you've had some of them, you've had some of them before that, and now we've got this in lesson 7, where we want to add all of those things together, and we want to practice that until we can get to that point. You may find that you need a bit of time getting to that point. It may take some time, which is great. You don't have to be able to play that right now. You don't have to be able to rush into it. You need to journal this with a little bit of time. Keep practicing as much as you can on that until you get to that point. Once you reach that point, you should be in a very good place. You should be very happy with that progress. And then we're now equipped to play a lot sort of more songs, a lot of different types of songs with your strumming and with your picking. So we will be getting onto that in the second term. We're going to be doing a lot of songs. So we need to learn a few more chords, and we need learn a little bit more about tabs, and we'll start tackling sort of the songs that you wouldn't have thought you'd be able to tackle. So the whole idea is just bring your technical ability up, know what you're doing. There isn't sort of random sort of things we do in playing music, they're very specific. So practice that up nice and hard, and that is basically the even more counting. More chord changes. We've taken a look at some chord changes in a previous lesson. That's the bit that we do in between our chords. So when we're playing a chord and we're sort of lifting up and we're changing to the next chord, there's sometimes a little bit of strumming or slapping the guitar or hitting it that we do in between those chords. Sometimes on them, but in between those chords we often do little bits and pieces. So we're going to look at the sort of most common, most popular in-between chord change. And that is what we've just learned in our more counting and strumming, is the one and a. That and a. That happens very often in different songs. So we're going to look at that. We're going to isolate it with 2 chords again. We're going to use our E minor and our A2. And then once we've done that, we're going to look at sort of more of the chords we've learnt. You'll also find that in Oasis Wonderwall, the song that we've tackled in this term, once we've sort of got the hang of these chord changes, we'll be using this particular chord change that we're going to learn now within that song. And that gives you, what we did practice was this. 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1. Now if you notice in the actual song, there's a lot more that goes on, and we're going to learn a little bit more of that. We're going to be ultimately getting to the point where we're playing 1, 2. Alright, so that may look a little scary right now, but it's actually not. Once we've learned those strumming patterns and we've practiced them over and over and over and over, those counts, we'll be able to isolate them easy enough with an Oasis Wonderwall and many other songs and be able to play them. So let's get straight to it. The E minor we're going to take a look at. I'm also going to be strumming up a little bit closer so that we can see that a little closer in. And you can see the right hand, what it's doing when the left hand is sort of moving. E minor, we're going to count to 4 with a strum. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as it comes up, we're going to do the and then straight back down to 1 again. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 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 1. Okay, so you'll notice what we're doing. 4 strums, And then the ander is a quick little ander next chord. So it leads into our next chord. And for now, we're still playing the same chord, but it's leading into the next bar of chords, for example. So we're going from E and we're leading back into E. Ultimately, you'll be changing chords and you'll be leading into other chords. So let's take a look at that again very slowly. I'm going to try and break down the sort of coordination of these hands. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4. As this hand comes up, you've got to bring this hand back up as well. And you're going to go and up, down, up. And then it's straight back down with these E minor fingers. And straight back down to 1, 2, 3, 4. You're bringing this hand up. This is coming away and up. And then as you notice these fingers, as you bring your thumb up, you're arching your fingers and your fingers are ready to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what you can do is you can practice this very slowly. Practice counting to 4 with your chord, and then as you sort of bring it up and you're ready to play your next sort of count, you're going to take your hands away and do the ander. Then straight back down and you continue strumming. So you'll notice if you practice over that strumming and the counting and strumming section, this hand, you need to practice enough for this hand to sort of want to do that naturally. So stop the video, make sure you've practiced it loads of times, and make sure you can do that whilst you do something else. So as I've said before, whilst you're watching TV or you're watching something or or if you're in a boring conversation and you want to be doing something else, you can practice your guitar. So make sure you practice that strumming, and then all we're doing is we're lifting up our hands and we're doing the ander, and then they come back down. What you can also do, which we're going to do now, is you can think that out. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Very important that you do that. If you're saying it out loud and you're doing it mentally and you're actually going through that, then when it comes to strumming and you've got that naturally, it's going to be a lot easier. So again, it's just a thing of practicing something over and over and over. The more you practice it, the better it's going to get. So practice just doing that out loud in your head. It's better to sort of do that vocally. It seems to work better. So then what we can do is we can go from the E minor to the A2 with that. So we're going E minor, A2, E minor, A2. So what we're going to do now is we're going to think that out, and we're going to change chords without using our right hand right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Back to E. 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. You really need to practice that. Just saying it out loud and doing it, because this isn't technically that difficult. All you're doing is you're moving between two chords which you learnt a while back, you've practiced, and you're just changing between those two chords whilst you're saying what you're going to be doing. And then in your head it starts clearing up that it's actually not that difficult. You've just sort of got to coordinate this hand and this hand, and the whole time you're thinking about that chord change. So when you're on your E, you're thinking about, I'm changing with an ander to my A, and that helps clarify it, make it a lot simpler. Then slow it down, play this really slowly. It doesn't matter if you're doing it incredibly slow so that your clock's almost stopped. You just got to get that sort of coordination. With time you can speed it up and you can get onto all of the extra strumming and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to play E, A, E, A, E, A. We're just going to change that a number of times whilst we strum. I'm going to strum over here again, and we're going to go through that. Starting with E, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 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 1, 2, and you're just going to keep practicing that over and over. So stop the video and practice that. Break it down into just the right hand side, then break it down to just the left hand side, and then slowly, very slowly, you can even put your hands up here for now, just to get that coordination. Break it down. Also read through your notes. It'll be broken down in your notes as well, so you can follow along with your notes. And as you sort of get better and better, you don't want to look at the side, you don't want to look at the side. You want to focus down on your notes and be able to follow that. Then you're going to be getting a lot more comfortable. Your fingers on both sides of your hands are developing muscle memory. They start learning where to go on their own. And that's where you want to get. You want to be able to sit and play and sing or look at something or do whatever. You don't want to have to focus too hard on this. You want it to be an instinct. Alright, so once you've done that, then you can practice with your G and your C, and you can practice doing the changes. First in your head, then on this side, and then together. You can slowly do that. Then after all of that, you can start adding more chords together. You can go with your practice song, for example, and you can do 4 strums with an ander into the next chord. Change off into the next chord with the new bit that you've learnt. And you can just slowly use more and more chords. Then ultimately you want to get to Oasis Wonderwall, where you're playing 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, and we will at some point be doing the 1E ander, which will come very handy in this Oasis song, because you can start doing that in sort of some of the chords. But we're not going to do that right now. I want you to focus on getting the ander next chord. Then you're strumming it and you're going ander next chord. Alright, so that's what you're going to do. Also with Oasis, you're only moving these fingers. These are stationary. So it gives that sort of nice tone as you come up back on the guitar, because you've got fingers over there on it. So you're going 1, 2, and you're playing those notes there. So that's kind of creating that extra little chord in between. So that creates a great sound, and it's a nice one to practice. Alright, so going through all of your chords and practicing your in-between chord change, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to play it a couple of times using 4 chords. So stop the video, practice that in-between chord change, the ander, on many different chords. Practice going from E to A, G to C, etc., etc. And then we're going to add them together now. We're going to be going E, A, G, and C. And then we're going to repeat that a number of times. Alright, so once you've practiced, this is the sort of goal that you want to get to. You want to be able to get to this point with this particular exercise. I'm going to strum again over here so we can see what's going on. Ultimately, strumming back down here is going to be where you do it. Alright, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and a G, 2, 3, 4, and a C, 2, 3, 4, and an E, 2, 3, 4, and an A, 2, 3, 4, And there we have it. So practice all of your counting and strumming exercises, and then practice in between chord changes. Just practice that fifth exercise we've done, the one and a, and then incorporate them into your chords. Practice just with one chord, then practice alone with just another chord, and then add them together. And then slowly practice with more chords and start adding them all together until you're playing something like the practice song, or you're practicing Oasis Wonderwall, or you're making your own stuff up. That's also cool. Alright, and that is basically more chord changes. Major scale. Today we're going to look at another scale. We've done the minor scale. We probably still don't know why we're learning all these things. And we're not going to find that out today either. We're just going to learn another scale, another shape. We get onto why we use scales and how to use them, how to incorporate them in our playing later on in the year. So for now, we just need to learn the major shape. We've done the minor, so we're going to do the major. For now, think of it as an exercise and just slowly practice it until you get them better and better and smoother, and then just use them as exercises, as I say. Let's get straight to it. The major scale looks very similar to the minor scale. There's just a few sort of little differences in how we play that. So the first thing we're going to look at again is the tab, and then we're going to look at the diagram. Alright, so with the tab we're going to follow along and we're going to play the major shape. Now the first thing, we're going to read that tab from left to right as always, and we're going to just go slowly up the scale and we're going to go slowly back down the scale. So the first thing they want us to do is they want us to play the third thinnest string at this, and it's an open, it's a 0, so there's no fingers on that string. So we just pick that string on its own. Next thing they want us to do is on that same string, the third thinnest, they want us to play at the second fret, and we're going to use our second finger for that, if you remember our exercise. So, and they want us to play that. They're only asking us to do it once, so that's all we do. Right, once we've done that, we move on to the next note, which is your second thinnest string, and it is an open as well. So we're going to play that. Then they want us to play same string, second thinnest. They want us to play on the first fret. So that goes on at the first fret, and we play that note on its own. Push nice and tight, and you get that. If you're getting dead notes or all those buzzers, you need to make sure the finger's right up against that fret and it's pushing nice and tight using the very tip of your finger. You're going to press down on that and you're going to get that sound. Right, the next one they want us to look at is the third fret. So that is where we're going to go. We're going to go onto that third fret on your second thinnest string, so it's on the same string. 1, 2, 3. We're going to that third fret, pushing nice and tight, upright. We play that note on its own. Alright, so let's go through those first 4 notes. First we've got the open third thinnest string, so we're starting again from the beginning of the tab. We play the third thinnest. Then we're going on to the second fret on the same string. Then on to our second thinnest open string, then onto our first fret on that same string, again on the same string at the third fret with our third finger, push nice and tight, and the last string we're playing the open E, so they want us to play that open string. Then onto the same string, onto the second fret, the second box. And on the same string again, at the third fret, the third box. Alright, and that is how to play your major shape.
I'm going to play that whole thing once through for you so you can see and hear what it's going to look and sound like. And that's the correct way to play it. So we've got to make sure we use the right fingers and we don't get confused between the minor and the major, which is quite easy to do. So one more time all the way through. Open, second, open, first, third, open, second, and third. Right, so let's go through that one more time slowly together, and then we're going to go backwards in that scale. So starting on the third thinnest, open, on the same string at the second fret, then onto our second thinnest, open, second thinnest first, same string, second thinnest, third fret, and then thinnest, open, thinnest, second fret, and same string, thinnest, third fret. Right, don't move your fingers. Once you're there, we're just going to work backwards on that. We start on the thinnest at the third fret, then we on the thinnest at the second fret, then the thinnest, no fingers, then we take our ring finger and we go onto the second thinnest string at the third fret, and then down on the same string to the first fret, and then on the same string open, third thinnest back at the second fret, and then our last note open. And that is going to look and sound like this all the way through. Right, so that's where you want to get with playing that scale. You want to be able to go up the scale and back down the scale. And you want to be able to do it sort of smoothly without taking too long in between notes. You want to follow along to that clock that ticks. Alright, so once you've done that, you've learned your major shape. What you can do is you can stop the video and you can practice it very slowly. Make sure you've got your notes with you and follow along to that tab very slowly. So keep practicing that. I'm going to go through the scale again with you very slowly. So stop the video, practice it on your own, and then rejoin the video, and we're going to go up the scale and back down the scale again. Alright, open string, third thinnest string, same string at the second fret, second thinnest string, open, second thinnest string, the same one, first fret, second thinnest string at the third fret, open on your thinnest, second fret on your thinnest, third fret on your thinnest. Then we leave our finger there and we start and we work our way backwards. Third fret on your thinnest, second fret on your thinnest, and open on your thinnest. Then onto the next string, the second thinnest at the third fret. Same string, the second thinnest at the first fret. And then same string, second thinnest string, open. And then onto your third thinnest string at the second fret. And then same string, third thinnest, open. Alright, and that's what you're going to practice. Later on in the year, we're going to learn how to play your minor and your major together and start moving around the guitar. And we'll get a lot better at it. We'll do some exercises that will increase our speed and all that kind of stuff. So now we've had a look at it as a tab, we're just going to quickly have a look at it as a diagram. Again, if you look at the diagram, you're just going to see a whole bunch of dots on the guitar. And what you can see there is you can see all of the notes that we've played at the same time. So if you had a whole bunch of extra fingers, you'd be putting them all on the guitar at the same time. It goes through each of these notes as if it was a chord. So you can learn the scale by reading the tab, or you can learn it by looking at where your fingers need to go on that diagram. You always start with the thicker of your strings you're playing. So we're going to be on the 3rd string, and you can see that on the diagram. And then you can see it goes to the 2nd string, the 2nd fret, sorry. And then there's an open string, it's behind the neck nut. You can see there's the open. And then you can see the 1st fret, there's a dot over there. The 3rd fret, there's another dot. Then the open string again, 2nd fret and 3rd fret. So all of those dots are showing you where to put your fingers. Alright, and once you've done that, then you've learned your major scale, and you need to practice it going all the way through the scale, backwards and forwards, over and over and over, until you can get it nice and smooth. So practice, 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 practice until you get that right. And that is basically your major scale. And there we have it. That was lesson 7. Lesson 7 was all about bringing our technical ability up a bit and learning some new things that we could incorporate and use further on in the term in songs and studies and all sorts of stuff like that. Being able to play with other musicians. These are all tools that we've learnt. So practice hard and go over everything I've done section by section, little bit by little bit, slowly get through it. Take a week, take longer than a week, it really doesn't matter. Just go through it until you've got it and it's nice and simple. So I hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you want to leave any comments or posts or queries, you can find us on Facebook at Sound of Art Cape Town. Looking forward to lesson 8. Until then.